It's Speaking with Gravity, and I am Kervin.
I'm Dee.
And I'm Ty.
And we are the host of a podcast that speak on mental health in our community and how everything affects everything. With every episode, the goal is to have a conversation that will make you think, make you feel, and make you do what is best for you. I'm a therapist, but this isn't therapy. It's a podcast. And Dee has a disclaimer.
While we serve as mental health professionals, the information and content being discussed during our podcast is not intended to be utilized or substituted as therapy. The purpose of this broadcasting is to share our personal perspective through open dialogue about various content based on our personal, educational, and professional experiences.
And today we got a guest. Before we go into Twitter discussions, we're going to go ahead and introduce her. And then we're going to go into our Twitter discussion, because she's going to key in on this one. So we have with us today Carrie Satson, who is the owner of the Satson Agency. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself to give us what you want to give us about you.
Well, I am a wife, a mother, a sister, a daughter, an auntie, and all the other titles. I'm a hero to some, a villain to others. If we're going to be realistic, and that's the thing that I really want to share today, is my journey into entrepreneurship and the effects that it has on me and the relationships that I have with others, because I think it's very important that we are transparent about that process, because a lot of times you see on Facebook, social media, oh, go start a business, but they never tell you the other part of that journey. So I want to be as transparent as possible so people can either, A, avoid the mistakes I've made, or B, at least get something out of it to make them a little more introspective at the end of the day.
Yeah. So we got this thing we call Twitter discussions. I looked at the comedy show by Dave Chappelle. And Dave Chappelle said he don't care about Twitter because that's not the real world. But there's Twitter discussions. We find stuff on the internet, and then we just kind of discuss it. There is something that came out. Salary negotiation is about freedom, access, and equity. And she said, "Spread the word" by Tiffany Waddell. I don't even know who that is. You being a business owner, how do you feel about people negotiating a salary with you? Telling you, I'm
so glad we're having this conversation, because right now, if you see it, there's a lot of hiring now signs in every industry.
Yeah.
And it's no different in the insurance industry. And that is a sticking point. And if I'll be 100% transparency, it's why I operate my office by myself. Because a lot of times employees don't realize, before you earn a dollar for my business, I have invested assets, time. I'm working longer hours than you, and there's a lot of disrespect when people come through the door and try to have a salary negotiation, especially when you don't have industry experience. So I don't even know. I am putting the future of my business in your hands, and you're wanting me to give you this
top dollar
salary with no results. Yeah. And when I start asking questions, people think I'm a bully. Like I say, well, what did you do in the last position? Mm-hmm. What did you do that warrants you to have this salary? Or are you just coming here because you were there 2 years and you just feel like, I was like, because feeling something and deserving something are two different things. And there's a very big disconnect between experience, contribution, and how salaries work. For example, I have to pay payroll taxes up front. There are things that I have to pay fees to process a paycheck. So I'm in the negative before you even step through the door. And people don't think about it. And then being a smaller business owner, it's even harder, because bigger businesses qualify for group benefits at a discounted rate, whereas I've got to pay top dollar just to compete. And a lot of people are like, well, you don't offer major medical. You don't offer all these other things. I said, but do you realize even those big companies that you're comparing me to don't give it to you for free? I challenge anybody listening to this podcast or watching this podcast to go look at your pay stub and see all your deductions. Sometimes you miss out on an opportunity with a great employer. I will invest in you. I will teach you. My goal is anybody that comes to my door is to be able to do what I do in 5 years. I will give you the blueprint. I'm not afraid to share that. But what happens is people come in with the wrong attitude that all employers are evil. All employers don't appreciate you. All employers are trying to just get something out of you. And I'm going to be very, very honest. I am trying to get something out of you. You are signing a contract with me that says, I know how to sell insurance. I know all the laws about insurance. And I am going to follow up my customers and treat them with dignity and respect. And in exchange for that, you're going to give me vacation time paid. You're going to give me flex time paid. You're going to give me all these other benefits because I'm performing this. This is a partnership. It's a reciprocal relationship. And people don't want to reciprocate. They want you to give, but not reciprocate. I think it's okay to ask for respect. I think it's okay to ask for you to be on time.
Yeah.
I believe it's okay to hold you accountable for those things. If you're going to hold me accountable to making sure your check is on time and your vacation is accrued properly, I can hold you accountable too. But that is a big disconnect. So to answer that, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's a big
At the end of the day, they need to be able to tell you what they're bringing to the table.
they need to show me, not tell me.
Show
me.
Oh, okay.
Show me.
Okay. All right. So from the, you set the standard, then you show me, and then we can negotiate the standard.
Like, I had a guy, true story, I had a guy, he was with me, great salesperson, but he was lacking in some other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even make it 90 days. He was like, well, I'm your best salesperson, so you need to give me a pay raise. I was like, I'm a new entrepreneur. I was very transparent with you when I started. I don't have the capacity to do that. I have a note on my business. A lot of people think you just jump out here with no debt, with no nothing. Like, I invested. I purchased the business. There's a responsibility that comes with that. If I do one thing out of order, I can mess up everybody's payroll. Like, you may feel a certain way, but be reasonable. You're not the only person here. And that's the thing. Like, I don't want to look at people like a number, but it's hard for me to not look at you like a number when you just look at me like a check.
Yeah. Well,
let's be real transparent here.
Yeah.
So if you want me to do more and have that connection with you for development, come to me for development and be open to development. But if you're not, we don't have a conversation to be had. And I'm okay. I'm a worker. I will work by myself before I have the wrong people on my boat, because you don't want to have somebody on your boat blowing holes in it and you trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Especially when your name is on the boat.
Absolutely correct.
So it makes a difference.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I would challenge anybody that's going into a salary negotiation, say, look, this is where I want to be. And say, if I can't prove to you I'm here in 90 days, that's acceptable to me. But if I can, we need to have a renegotiation. Or if you have a proven track record, be ready to present that proven track record with people that are willing to vouch for you. 9 times out of 10, when I've held these interviews, no one's been able to do that. And when I asked them to perform, they're like, well, it's too hard. I said, that's because you never actually worked.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. And I sound hard, and I know I've been in the South my whole life, but my parents held me to a standard. You don't sow the garden, you don't tend the garden, you don't weed the garden, you can't expect to have a good harvest. And that's my philosophy. I will not beg anyone to have the things that they say they want to have. If you want to have them, you will show me. You will show me. Would you go into a relationship with somebody that says, oh, I want to travel the world, and they don't have a passport, never got a visa, don't know how to book a plane ticket? Doesn't it sound kind of strange? You say you want to travel, you want to do all this stuff, but you don't even realize that the United States of America isn't the whole world?
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole nother side, and you're not taking advantage of it. If your behavior doesn't match where you're saying you want to be, I have a hard time trusting you. Because keep in mind, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as an employee, because there's different levels to entrepreneurship. Some people are solo. Some people create jobs. I'm trying to create jobs, but I also have to have the cash flow there to do it. And I'm trusting you to help me build that. This is somebody's dream. This is somebody's this is a platform where people can bless a community. But if you don't have the heart for it, it's kind of hard for me to want to just shell out everything I have when I've sacrificed so much. It's like, check yourself before you wreck yourself, because Kara don't mind. Kara don't mind telling you about yourself if you come over here. And I don't mind being told if I'm out of position too, because as an employer too, you got to realize what the market expectations are. So if I'm saying, oh, I'm gonna let you be an insurance agent for $8 an hour, that is a slap in the face.
Right.
Like on the flip side of that, you have to be reasonable.
But you've probably done your research
Exactly.
at that point.
Exactly.
For what the market is.
Exactly. And I have not paid anybody below a living wage. Yeah. So, and then plus too, in the insurance industry, you get a wage plus commission in most cases.
Okay.
So if you work, you pay yourself. Like, it's one of the few jobs, the more work you put in, the more you get out of it. You can put 1,000 boxes on a manufacturing line. I've been in manufacturing, and you're not going to get a pay raise for your count. It's like,
right.
Oh, great, we had overproduction today. Great job. We might let you leave a little early. But when you're in insurance and you network and you do different things, you can actually reap the benefits of the effort that you put in. But most people don't want to put in the effort, and that's my issue. They think it's so easy. They think what you do is so easy. I take continuing education. I am in the process of getting my securities licenses, and that's a federal exam. Like, there's levels to this. And when you invest in yourself, and you will see results. But I had to do that by myself. I have to go and study every night. 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours at night. It's not like it just osmosis its way into my mind. Like, I wish it was that easy, but it's not. Right. So I always tell people, be realistic. Yeah. Like, be realistic. I'm not saying that you're not deserving of that at some point, but be realistic. Make sure you're a contributor and you actually know what you're doing. Because if let's say I do say, okay, I'll pay you $25 an hour.
Then
but
what?
If you don't show results, you're gone. You set yourself up for failure. It's always better to over-deliver and under-promise, and then you have a leg to stand on, than over-promise and under-deliver, and then you look horrible, and that's it's a blemish.
Mm-hmm. So we got, that's a good way to start in. Right. We got the QD of the hour.
So the QD of the hour, which stands for quotable data, is another version of fun facts, info for you to be able to give your friends, family, colleagues, coworkers, church members. So according to a summary from the Department of Labor, over 4 million Americans left their jobs in April alone due to toxic workplace culture, overwork, and burnout. And according to the U.S. Business Formation Statistics, BFS, 1.36 million new companies were started in the first quarter of this year.
2021, 1.36. I don't know how many of that was started with what they call that, the PPP
loans.
PPP loans. Yeah. There was a whole lot of them. The intro. Did you do the disclaimer?
I did.
Okay. My mind gone, man.
Many of us want greater control over our careers, earnings, schedules, and lives. Jumping into entrepreneurship involves having a lot of faith, dealing with imposter syndrome, and avoiding self-sabotage. To navigate these uncharted territories, one must remain focused on being in the right mindset. 72% of entrepreneurs suffer from mental health issues. Today, we discuss why and what to do about it.
No, we ain't saying you got any mental health issues. We're not saying that now. But where were you 10 years ago? Were you in your business?
10 years ago, I was a fresh graduate from Converse College. And at the time, that was a women's college. So you talking about isolation and having a different path than most people. Is very small. I mean, my graduating class from high school was bigger than my graduating class from college. It's very small. That school was basically within 2 city blocks.
What was your major, undergrad?
I started out an art major and a computer science major because I'm a total computer freak. And the school dropped my major the end of my sophomore year, going into junior year, because we didn't have enough people. Wow. So I thought I wanted to be a curator and develop art software and make art history and stuff on it. And then I realized I flunked art history twice, and that was not the life for me. So I changed it all the way up. I went in as a business finance major, so I graduated my Bachelor of Science in that. I picked up an accounting minor, and I kept the computer science, but as a concentration, just because I love computers, I love design, programmer, been programming since I was 12. My mom put me onto it. As soon as personal computers came out, she said, "Girl, you want to figure out how to use this thing?" And I just went, and that was where she just really encouraged me to diversify. Mm-hmm. So kind of stuck with that for a while. I still program. I still do web design. So that was, so when I graduated from college, I had job offers lined up because I started my junior year applying, and I ended up being a admission counselor for a year. Loved it.
At Converse?
Yes, I was an admission counselor at Converse. Loved it. Got to travel. Got to meet people. It taught me a lot of independence and accountability because when you are lost, you have to be okay saying, Ms. Lewis, I don't know where I am. But didn't you grow up in Greenwood? I was like, but the latest I was ever out was 9 o'clock, and that was to see Harry Potter for the opening. So, I mean, I was kind of a homebody coming up, and I didn't talk to people. And I took the opportunity of college to try to work on myself. It was tough because I'm such a family person, and my mom is like my best friend, and I'm a daddy's girl. So being out, trying to make things work. I didn't want to ask my parents for a whole lot of stuff, but I have a younger brother. We're 8 years apart. So, and he was going to private school, and I knew that money was tight, so I tried not to ask for anything. So when I went out here, honey, I had an apartment, no furniture. I didn't want to tell them. I said, hey, can I have my furniture from the house? But I didn't have a sofa or anything. I started, I didn't even turn the light. I turned the lights off at the breaker when I left for my trips because I would be gone 1 or 2 weeks at a time to make sure I had money to pay my bills. And people are like, oh, you're doing so great. I'm like, I did what a lot of people don't want to do. I sacrificed on the front end so I could have some peace on the back end. And during that time that I graduated from school, I was able to pay off my student loans and my car because I was really like doing the whole ramen noodle. We're not buying furniture if it didn't come from Goodwill or something. Like, we're not doing this. I didn't want that lifestyle. So that first job really taught me being responsible, because there were some things like I got lost going to a college fair one time. It was in Lawrence. I didn't realize they built a new school because I'd never really gone to Lawrence, and it's right down the road.
You didn't have Google Maps?
Well, the thing is, you got to have a signal, and we had Sprint. The school had Sprint, and we had Blackberries at the time.
Oh, goodness.
So I got a wop.
You went all the way to Blackberry.
Yeah, so
okay.
I was really stuck. So we had the Blackberries, and it wasn't working. The little trackball fell out. I was panicking, and it was the first time I really felt vulnerable because I'm usually that dependable person, the person that is always reliable, has everything together, and I felt dumb. How do you get lost in a county that's right beside the county you grew up in?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't one of those people that went to all the football games, and I wasn't one of those people that, if I wasn't on the bus for track, I didn't know where the school was, and it was so embarrassing. So that was like my first big lesson is it's okay to ask for help. Is you gonna get laughed at or you gonna get ridiculed? I'd rather be laughed at and we all happy at the end of the day than get ridiculed. And that one time I didn't ask for help and I got my butt handed to me. So that was one of the first things I learned, was just kind of like, you know what? You got to put your pride aside. Sometimes if you need help, just get the help. Because that was not only embarrassing, but to get fussed at the same time and potentially lose your job just because of your pride.
So how you go from admissions counselor to insurance?
Well,
and do you say insurance agent, or how do you, is it insurance agency, agent?
Well, I just say insurance agent,
Okay.
Just because insurance is actually, I'm really a financial specialist of sorts. If you think about it, insurance covers so much, and there's so many areas of it. It's just that you have to be very careful because certain things have designations. That's why I'm getting my securities license, because under insurance you have other financial products like IRAs and other things that you can get into, and that's what I'm trying to do, is teach people how to, work with their retirement and all of that. And so I'm trying to get everything. If God put it before me and says I have access, I'm trying to open all the doors.
Make sure you get into self-directed IRAs. I'm just not
Well,
learning about those.
All I'm saying is there's a place for all of it, and that's why I'm going for my securities licenses and like long-term care, all that. And I'm trying to change the face of that. So you asked a good question. Insurance.
Yeah.
Like when I go and do presentations with people, I'm like, this is a financial product. Let's not get it twisted. It's a financial product. It's not just something that you just get just to have it. You need to understand it. And a lot of times we sign things, and so I try to be. I like to say I'm more of a financial protections advocate rather than just the agent. Because I want you to understand this. Like, how many people go around not understanding how bodily injury works? How many people, true story, happened just this week. Had a young lady, she's in college, sweetheart. She wrecked the car, she caused the wreck. she only had liability coverage. She thought she could get her car repaired with liability. She thought all this stuff. And I said, no, we had this conversation. And you have to understand, when this liability is only going to cover the person that you hurt so they don't sue you. And she's like, man, so I got to start over, Miss Carrie? I was like, yes, this is real. Like, you need to make sure. And when I talk to all of my customers, we have a 30, 45-minute conversation. You don't just get in and out. Yeah, you don't get in and out. We're going to have a conversation because I know people don't read. I know we don't.
Mm-hmm. She paused for a reason. That's real. We really
we don't read. I mean, there are things that I have signed that I know if I went back and read, I'd be like, oh my God.
Yep.
I mean, think about how many apps you participate in, the terms and conditions, and then you find out 20 people are calling you a day later. How did they get my information? Well, in those terms and conditions, it said that you don't mind that all their affiliate partners reach out to you about all these subscriptions, and they're going to monitor all your cookies on your phone, and they're going to find out the things that you like. And then like, well, I never gave them permission. Yeah, you did, here on this date and this time, and if you would like to withdraw, you got to go send this letter and within 180 days, or you stuck for life. Like, I mean, I'm being, I'm embellishing a little bit, but we do things on a daily basis. And it's so scary. So I try to break everything down so people understand financial products are not a gimmick if you know how to use them. They can be your best friend or they can be your worst enemy, but it comes down to how you use it. Perfect example. I always tell people, money is a tool, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, everybody wants money, blah, 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 blah. You got to be a bad person. I said, no. Think about money like this. Money is a hammer. With a hammer, you can build a house. You can build a business. You can build a birdhouse for the nature. You can go build a fence or whatever you want. You can build all these hedges of protection and build something beautiful. Or I could be a serial killer and hit everybody in the back of the head with it. And it can be a weapon. That seems extreme, but that is what money is. That is what financial products are. That is what having that level of security is. It's all depending on how you use it. And it really bothers me being in this industry because most of the people that I see that are struggling with this are in the minority community. They look like me. That's why I go so hard. That's why I travel to whomever is willing to listen, because it's important. If we want different things, we have to do different things, because doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. And we do some insane things and want to play the blame game and displace blame when really it's things that we can do for ourselves. And that's a frustration. So I'm trying to be a part of the solution and stop with the negativity around all of these things. And we're going to have a conversation because it's important. And if you don't want to have a conversation, I'm not the agent for you. I tell all of my customers that because I treat my customers like cousins. I want the best for you. I want you to do well. Even if I'm not necessarily the right fit, I at least want to give you the information so you won't be bamboozled when you go to the next person, because you will remember that and it'll take you a lot farther than a temporary reprieve from a 6-month premium. I guarantee it, and I stand on that.
That might be the first time I heard I treat my customers like cousins, but that's dope though.
I try to. Some of them I want to.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes you want to put your hands on them.
Based on what you're saying, though, there's you put a lot of effort into connecting with people and laying it all out there. So that's one of the demands for you is making sure you go over and beyond to make sure they understand the information. Mm-hmm. What's another demand or other demands of ownership, just owning your own business?
The biggest thing about ownership is being willing to make tough decisions. That's been, and I'm the type of person, I have to admit, I try to see the good in everything, and sometimes you just have to take stuff at face value and move on, and that's hard for me. It's really hard for me. Perfect example, I had an individual in insurance, you have to have certain licenses to perform. Certain parent companies have different requirements. So my parent company makes you have property and casualty to sell insurance for like cars, boats, houses. And then you also have to have life, accident, and health. And life, accident, and health lets you do life insurance, cancer policies, long-term care, stuff like that. And in the insurance industry, going back to being an employer and dealing with employees and salary negotiations, it's one of the few things that you have to be able to sell in order to stay in business. And there's a lot of insurance agents out here that are losing their businesses because their employees aren't performing. And they've gotten too far away from handling the sales side of it. Because, at the end of the day, an owner doesn't really want to work in the business. They want to work on the business. Mm-hmm. But finding people that understand and want to work in the business is hard because everybody wants to be an owner without the owner's responsibilities. So what happened with me
Say that
is
again. Say that again.
I gave 3 people an opportunity to train with me, personal development, and get their licenses. Gave them plenty of time, and none of them passed their exams. And one quit, and I had to fire the other 2. And then they were like, well, I come to work. I said, but being present is not good enough. And then they thought I was being harsh. And I gave them this example. I've got 3 kids, and I ask you to babysit them. Babysitting is more than you being in the room. You have to make sure they're not sticking stuff in the outlets. You have to make sure they're not drawing all over the walls. You have to make sure that they're, bathed and clean or whatever it is that I'm asking you to do. That's the same thing with my business. Don't just show up, be present and accounted for, and do what I'm asking you to do. If you can't do all of those things, you're really not doing what you're paid to do, and therefore I have to dismiss you and find somebody that can actually do what I need and do the work. And it's sad to say, great people, but they take that's why I got irritated with being looked at as a check and not an opportunity. I'm trying to give people opportunities to get financial freedom and be a mentor. I don't want anybody to work for me forever. I believe in hiring people that have goals. But the problem is we get caught up on the wrong goals. We get caught up on having $60,000 a year. So I flip those questions around and I say, okay, so you want to make $60,000 a year. Why?
Crickets.
No, like, well, that money will help me do what? What is it going to help you do? Because if you don't know how to manage $5, how are you going to manage $60,000? So I ask you what your 5-year plan is, your 3-year plan, your 6-month plan, your 10-month, like, what are you trying to do? Mm-hmm. And when I start asking people questions and holding them accountable for why they want this money, they can't answer. I said, so when you can answer those questions, I'll entertain this, but you need to have a plan and a purpose before you go out here, because that money's not going to make any difference. There's plenty of people that have tons of money and they're miserable because they don't manage it well. Mm-hmm. Plenty of people have tons of money. I mean, look at the entertainment industry. Plenty of people have tons of money and they're miserable. And my thing's, everybody says, well, money doesn't make people happy. You know what? It doesn't. That's proof. It makes things easier to deal with, though. So I'm not going to take anything away from that. And I don't want to take that opportunity away from any of my employees or any people to come to me. But at the same time, you got to be able to put it all together. It's not just, I don't know what analogy I could use, but it's kind of like you got different kinds of blankets. It's just like, but if it's winter, you want a fleece blanket. Like, just having a blanket is not good enough. Like, if it's just a sheer cotton T-shirt like blanket, what is that gonna do for you? And that's what people think $60,000 gonna do. They go out here and they want to put this blanket on. Oh, I got $60,000. Well, if it's not doing insulating anything, it defeats the purpose of you having $60,000 a year if you're not using it properly or have the proper equipment. So I tell people all the time, it's like, it's bigger than that. Like, I had a loss my first year in business because I invested more than I got out of it. I paid more out in payroll. I paid more out in marketing. I paid more out in utilities. I paid more out in rent. I paid more out in gas getting back and forth, and they don't understand. Like, well, why didn't you do this? I said,
What year business you in?
I'm in year 2.
2, okay.
I'm in year 2. And a lot of my counterparts that I went to school with, they've already closed. Because COVID, think about it like this. Insurance, while it is a necessity, do you think somebody will ride dirty without insurance first or not pay their rent?
You can ride dirty without insurance. first.
Exactly. So people like, well, you must be making good money because insurance is a state requirement. Newsflash, only if you get caught. You gotta get caught first.
Right.
And so a lot of people don't realize, especially around the holidays, that's the worst time, like in the insurance industry, because
wow.
people will drop everything around November and December to make sure their kids and families are taken care of. They are sacrificing and then try to jump back on after January. And so you have to prepare, you have to understand your business cycle. There are so many things and going into business ownership, no matter what business it is. Like my husband, he's a photographer. You know, you got wedding season and then you have drought. Like, you know, sometimes you'll get parties, but the expectation people have for different types of services are different price points. So, you know, at this particular season, you might get a $10,000 month, and then you might have a $2,000 month. You might have a $0 month because nobody's trying to do anything in the rain. You have to do all of that. And so it's very taxing when you have to put all of that together and still come in with a smile on your face for your customers, because they don't care. They are your number one. They don't care about anything else. If you can't be available because we're in a microwave society, they'll just be like, well, I'll trade you in for somebody else. They don't care about your personal problems. They don't care about your grandma just died. They don't care. But if you forget to call them, which is not your responsibility because their bill is late, well, why didn't you call me today? You could have called me. I said, we've sent you 3 notices. You're already in cancellation status for 2 months. That's 60 days. I said, we've sent you 6 emails. And I said, we've called, but your voicemail box was full, but it's still my fault. Okay.
Clean up your voicemail, people.
I mean, I'm just trying to tell you, you know, but the thing is, you have to be so careful as a business owner because I'll make enough mistakes on my own. Like, I'm not saying I approach everything perfectly. I make mistakes. I fix them though. But the thing is, when you have put so much investment and time in your business and somebody comes for you because of something that was in their control, sure, it's hard not to take it personally sometimes when you've done everything you legally can do to try to help a person. And I won't lie, I get real salty some days, and I have to reel myself back in to not snap. And that's hard, and a lot of people don't realize that. They forget you're human. Or they just naturally assume you make so much money, you'll overlook all of their discretions. And I won't lie, I had one particular customer. I had already spoken with her husband. He understood everything, and I asked him how I could help. I told him some of the things that they could do to get the bill caught up, because they were about 3 months behind. She calls back and says, let me talk to her. You know how you can hear people talking about, let me talk to her, blah, 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 blah. Was throwing threats around, calling me everything but a child of God. And I said, you do realize I know your entire address. I lost it, y'all. I don't talk to people like that. I promise. I said, if you, because she was talking about pulling up on me. I said, what if I pull up on you? I'll make it easy. And she was just like, oh my God. Like I said, I'm just trying to tell you how you sound. I was like, you sound like this over something that is easily resolved. You have time to get caught up, but I can't make it go away. You've neglected this bill for 90 days. Your insurance is about to be terminated. She was like, well, I have 30 days. I said, no, ma'am, you had 30 days, like 60 days ago. You've used that grace. Well, I have 10 days from this. No, you don't. You've already used that grace. But yet, she wanted to blame everybody but herself. And it's so hard. It's like, look, you took all my niceness threshold. Like, it just came down here. And then I actually dipped into, I'm about to go to jail. And I had to stop. I had to stop myself and say, look, you got 2 options, because I've officially lost my cool because I didn't approach you disrespectfully. And I said, I didn't call you out your name. I said, but I've listened to you for 35 minutes, just degrade me over something I had no control over that I've been trying to help you with. I said, so these are your 2 options. I can ask for an extension because you qualify for it. You've been with the company long enough. They'll let me do that for 1 more period. And I said, or you can hang up and find another insurance carrier because I'm done. And it's so hard not not to do that on a regular basis because that's not the only call I had. But I would tell you, that was the call that made me realize I still need some growing. Because I said, Lord, these calls are recorded. If they go back, they're going to be like, that's a whole thread. I'm like, it was. I didn't instigate it, but it was. And I had to step back. I mean, I can honestly say there are days that I have had tears going down the road because I'm like, I do not want to make these cancellation calls because I'm not in the mood. Recently, my grandmother-in-law died. My husband had to have surgery. My father-in-law was ill, all at the same time. And you still have to go in and try to be a decent human being to other people when you don't feel like being a decent human being. That's the hardest part because people don't realize, you're keeping up 2 houses. You're keeping up your business and keeping up your personal house. You're trying to be a wife. You're trying to be a mother. You're trying to be a good in-law. You're trying to be all these different things. Trying to be a good big sister when your brother asks you a question and you hadn't talked to him all day. He's like, so what's up? I'm like, I'm at work. I'm not trying to ignore you. I'm at work. But then when you call him back 10 times, like, I'm at work. What you want?
Returning your phone
Yeah,
call.
I'm returning your phone call because you say I don't love you. And then, you have to get to a place where you don't take everything personally. And that's really hard.
How do you said a lot as far as like having 2 households. You got your household and then you got your business. You're trying to be a mom. You're trying to be a wife, sister, daughter, all of that. How do you protect help your mental health? How do you keep it together?
Okay, so I have a deep, dark secret.
Oh, Lord. Did I ask the wrong question?
So I'm tell you what my deep, dark secret is, but that gets everybody involved, and it kind of diffuses everything. I'm a big anime fan. I love anime, and then like that's what I binge. I don't watch a lot of TV, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, did you see the Bridgertons?" And I'm just like, "Who? What? When? Why?" I said, "No." But did you see Boruto? I just watched that. Like, it's not as good as Naruto. And they're like, what are you? How old are you? I'm like, look, everybody has their thing. But I like it because it's escape from reality for me. And I used to like to draw. So I like to look at the art. I like to look at the plot. And it's something that I did with my son. And I got my husband to it because he hates it. But now he loves it. And we share that. And even my brother, like we all like that in video games. That's something that we connect on. So it's a lot of fun. I try to meditate in the morning and reset. I get up at 4 most days just to have some time to myself. And a lot of people are like, well, isn't that kind of taxing? But if you create it as a habit, it becomes natural. Right. So that's my time because everybody's asleep. I can go do whatever it is, whether it's just, read a few chapters of a book that I'm, looking at, or just to think. Mm-hmm. I think everybody needs that time to kind of reflect on the day, plan the day out, just make sure that you're going in with a level head, because the worst thing you could do is rush and take that energy into work or take it out on your family when it's not necessary. And I do like to exercise at least, 3 days out of the week. Nothing to kill myself. When I get older, I feel it. I can't do that TikTok challenge with the knees. I can't do it. I know that time is over in my life. You see these heels. I told you I'm not doing the 7-inch heels. I had to chill today since I'm being these heels all day. But I mean, and on a fun note, my dad and I go back and forth on a regular basis roasting each other. So, we keep the humor. We have a really great relationship. And I think you have to learn what you're willing to sacrifice and not do everything. That's one thing that I learned very quickly. If you're trying to force yourself into something, it makes it the mental tax is twice is bad. You're being double taxed. Like, I am really big on my natural hair. I'm really big on not having my nails done. I'm a major tomboy. Can I wear makeup? Sure. But I will get on social media with my fro without makeup just as quick as I would get on with a full lace front. I don't care. Personally, that's me, and I had to be okay that that's me. I'm not going to be Beyonce on screen. I'm not going to be some super polished person, and I'm not going to think less of myself because I'm not that super polished person. And I think sometimes, especially in the Black community, because that's all I can speak about, being Black, we have a very bad stigma of success has to look one way. Success looks like you going to pursue your doctorate, you having a $500,000 house, you having your hair bone straight, you having red bottom heels, you having certain things, and you can make yourself miserable trying to be these things if you don't like wearing 7-inch heels, if you have some type of foot thing that keeps you from wanting to wear 7-inch heels and it's not healthy for you just because somebody said. I said, and I tell everybody this, I said, I'm not knocking this profession, but I always ask this question. A lot of people ask me if I'm a life coach, and I was like, what in the world gave you that? Well, you always trying to, I said, no, I just hang around a lot of old heads that have good quotes. And I'm going to give them credit for the quotes. That's just what it is. But I say, you want a life coach, you want this. I said, but what makes you think I'm qualified to coach you when I'm struggling most days? And they're like, well, you don't look like you're struggling. I was just like, who in the world wants to look like their struggles? Please explain to me. Who wants to look like, what's that girl from Friday? I don't want to look like her.
Felicia?
Yeah, I'm not trying to look like Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah, like, I'm not trying to look like that. Nobody wants to look like their struggles. And looking like your struggles on a daily basis will affect you even more mentally. That's why I get up every day. I don't care if I'm staying home. I'm going to get up at the same time. I'm going to get dressed the same way. I might wear jeans that day, but I'm going to look decent, because when you feel better, when you look better, you feel better. And that's the thing. Like I tell people all the time, don't wallow. And it's hard some days. I've been through a lot of stuff that people didn't even know until years later. They were like, well, Carrie, I never knew that you did that. I remember when my husband and I miscarried, we were at 13 weeks. Still went to church, still went to work. I went to work right the day after everything happened. They were like, don't you need time to mentally recoup? I said, I'm going to tell you how I am. If I sit in this, I won't recover. I know me. Mm-hmm. I have to surround myself with people, or I will wallow, and you won't get carried back. And we have to be transparent with what our weaknesses are. And I'm very well aware that I am slow to forgiveness and quick to wrath. I will snap you up in a heartbeat if I feel disrespected. Not so much other things, but you have to know where your weaknesses are. So I have to surround myself with mentors that are better in that area than me. And I have to know what my signs are. I used to be in sales, where I traveled a lot, and I refused to drink because I don't like who I am when I drink, and I just don't drink. And I remember going to an event, and the guy was like, I don't trust salespeople that don't drink. And I said, I don't trust drunks, so we're even. And he was so floored with my comfort level and my response. He gave me multi-million-dollar contract just because he said, well, at least I know where you stand, and you're not easily influenced, so I know you're going to stick by what you said. And everybody in the room was like, really? Because nobody goes toe-to-toe with him. He was a very big, he dealt with a lot of big people out in California. And he was just kind of, I really like you. When I left that job, he's like, please keep in touch. I want to send you a bottle of wine. And he's the nicest man on the face of the planet, but everybody was scared of him except for me. And I was just like, well, look, this is who I am. And I just have to be really comfortable with that. And I think it's really hard because I remember when I was in college, I've been natural since 2006, and I've worn my hair as an afro or locks. And I used to get a lot of grief. How are you going to go into business with natural hair? I said, well, here's the problem. Nobody's willing to normalize it because everybody's scared of everybody else, and I ain't scared of nobody except for my mom and God. So what you need to understand is...
You scared of your daddy?
No, he push over. He going to see this, too, and he going to be like, yeah, because I told you I'm a daddy's girl, so, Yeah, look, okay. I'm just being real. You ain't gonna make me lie to you because everybody gonna say like, nah, that's a lie. He ain't scared. So it's just one of those things that you have to be comfortable with who you are, what you stand for. Know that you're not perfect. I am far from perfect, but I do have good intentions. You know, I tell people, it's just like playing with your cousins out in the yard. You can go play with them, and then you throw the ball too hard, you hit your cousin in the eye. It hurt them. It wasn't intentional. I had good intentions. We wanted to play and make good memories, but bad things happen even when you had the best intentions, and you just have to be okay that you could have caused somebody grief even in the good that you're trying to do, and that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. That just makes you human, and you just have to be okay. What makes you a bad person is when you don't try to remedy the situation, and that's when you have to just check yourself and not try to be a barrier. You know, because I'm not gonna say I've done everything right in business. You know, some customers, when I first started out with my first business, it was hard for me to ask for help and say I'm behind. I would try to over promise and under deliver, and I realized I need to under promise and over deliver so I can be comfortable and just set reasonable expectations for myself and for my customers. Like, you know, I know my skill sets. I just have to be like, you know, some people say fake it till you make it. Don't do that. Because you're going to stress yourself out. Just be like, look, this is where it is. This is where I am. This is my price point. Let's see if we can find a mutual point in which we can both agree. And, you know, because I have to say, this is a whole journey. I'm still learning. I am going to keep learning. But I'm way more comfortable with myself where that 10-year question you asked.
Yeah.
Totally different Carrie. Like, that Carrie didn't really want to stick up for herself. She just did what she was told to do and tried to keep a low profile. And then one of my professors said something to me, and it really stuck with me. She said, you are one of the brightest individuals I've ever come across, but the world will never know because you always stay in the shadows. And that thing made me cry. I'm about to cry now. I was like, this was a white woman, older white woman telling me this. She had watched me for 4 years as an individual, seen that growth and saw the potential I didn't see in myself. And I really didn't expect her to say it because we didn't really talk like that. And I was just like, dang, I really got to start investing in myself and being okay with making mistakes. My biggest fear was making a mistake and then just being labeled. And I'm going to tell you something my mama said. She said, look, you are a hero in somebody's store and a villain in somebody's store all the time. She said, so you might as well go live your best life and give it a try. Because she said, if you fall on your face, you can always get back up. She said, but if you never try, you never know what you can do. And that really stuck with me because I said, you know what, I probably got somebody that I think we're good, and then they're like, man, I can't stand that right now. And it's okay. Like, I really had to be okay with that and realize, like, I have to give myself the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's really an entrepreneur's hardest thing is giving themselves the benefit of the doubt, not trying to kill themselves for every mistake that they make. Because you will make mistakes. You will get discouraged. You will cry. You will want to punch people in the face. I suggest getting a punching bag. I have one. It's great. But it's just one of those things. You just have to, keep a healthy balance.
Yeah.
Don't overpromise. Always try to overdeliver and learn to say no. No is a very powerful word. It doesn't mean you don't love a person any less, but you do need to learn the power of no and protecting your peace, because that's one thing I will do. If I really can't do it now, I'll be like, I really am unable to do it at this time, but maybe later, because it's just no right now, but not forever. And you have to be okay with that.
You made this easy. I didn't get off all my questions, but you actually answered most of them just as you was answering one question. I love how you said you create a routine. I love how you say you keep it funny. I love the balance part. A lot of times we get overwhelmed with trying to do too much of one thing instead of just balancing it out. So you gave a lot of jewels for anybody that's listening, anybody that's trying to be an entrepreneur. One more thing. Tell us something about insurance that we don't know.
Okay, so it's really a multiple parts, but the biggest thing that affects most of the people I come across is going to be home and auto. So people think the insurance covers everything indefinitely, and it doesn't. You have coverages and you have limits, okay? So coverages are the things you elect to endorse to protect whatever it is. So with auto, you have liability. requirement. But you have comprehensive and collision, which are options. You have medical payments, which are options. And you have underinsured coverage, which are options. A lot of people think that in auto insurance, when you just say full coverage, you're going to get all those little options. But full coverage is not an insurance term. That's a dealer term when you go on a lot. So I always tell people, when you go to get your car insurance, ask exactly what coverages you have and what limits they are assigning to it. Because in the state of South Carolina, you have 2550. That means $25,000 per person, $50,000 per accident. That's the lowest you can go. Think about the last time you heard somebody that had medical injuries in a wreck. How fast that 25,000 goes. That's scary. I never encourage anybody to get state minimums. I mean, I know it's expensive, but the thing is, the longer you carry the higher limits, the better you look in the insurance industry, because insurance is risk-based. We're not covering the car. We're not covering the house. We're not covering necessarily you as a person. We're covering the event of something bad happening to you, something bad happening to your car, something bad happening to your house. It's a financial product, but we associate it with the object itself. We got to get out of that. We got to get out of that, and we need to understand what these words mean. Homeowners, you don't have termite coverage in homeowners insurance. You don't have vermin coverage in homeowners insurance. Your house get eaten up by termites and fall to the ground. No coverage. Get a yearly inspection. Most homeowners I know, they don't get yearly inspections. Why? You get an inspection on your car every, 2,000 miles. You get your oil changed. You pay for maintenance. So why are we sitting up here with the biggest asset we probably have, unless somebody got a Rolls Royce or Lamborghini I don't know about? You sit up here in a $250,000 house, and you hadn't had it inspected for 30 years. You could have termite damage. You could have bats in your attic. And a lot of that stuff is not covered by insurance because it's a form of neglect. Insurance covers a catastrophic loss that happened immediately. A wreck happens immediately, right? And it can be catastrophic. A home burning down is an immediate catastrophic loss. A tree falling on your house is an immediate catastrophic loss. We don't cover the stuff that you should be covering in maintenance. I mean, that's why when you take your car in for, your powertrain, if you don't do certain things, they're like, hold up, you ain't been in oil change in 6 months. You're supposed to do this every 2 months. It's not covered. That's why, because you have to do basic maintenance for the thing to even last. But I hate to say it, people cheat. People in general, they just cheat, and they try to do everything the cheap way, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You wash your $2,000 suit in some cheap fabric softener and everything, and see what happens. You're going to be mad.
Carrie, have you ever did a podcast before with somebody? Mm-mm. Good. Y'all heard it here first. Carrie Saxon and the Saxon Agency. She is good. And you just blessed me with what you just gave just now. Just to have a different thought, a different mindset about your biggest asset, which is your house.
It is.
And not having a yearly inspection. I don't think I had a yearly inspection since I got the house, which is about 9 years ago.
I recommend you get it at least once a year. And I typically say do it in the fall because hurricane season starts in June.
Oh, perfect. I can do it now.
Yeah, like season starts in June. So if you're going to have like a wild tropical depression hit landfall, because we're a coastal state, right? Mm-hmm. So we get flooding, we get earthquakes too, and we get all this crazy stuff. Like, people don't think about it, but we just had a major earthquake in the last year that broke roads apart in the upstate. So, you need to be careful. Like, just because you don't think about it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Right.
So, but I usually recommend in the fall because it's right after the crazy weather we have in June, July, and August, and it's right before we hit the ice going into the winter months, because we get ice here, not snow. Just think about it. Just think about it, do it. And then if you want to do it again, do it like in early spring before hurricane season to catch the winter damage. I mean, the average home inspection is usually around $250, $500, way cheaper than car maintenance, but we just don't do it. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, I'm not going in the crawl space. I'm not going in the attic if I don't have to. That's what people get paid for. And here's another little tidbit. When you do that, you are giving yourself a cushion if you ever have to file a claim, because that's an independent party saying this was not a pre-existing condition. They have pictures, a full inspection report. They can back you up. And so if you ever have to argue with the insurance company, like, have a nice day. Now file that claim, pay me. Replace my roof, replace my whatever. It gives you a leg to stand on. Same thing, like if you have a problem with your car, you can be like, oh, I brought it in for regular maintenance and it started doing this and y'all didn't catch it and it caused a bigger problem, so I'm need for y'all to work with me on this repair. You can hold the people working on your stuff accountable. That's why I tell people, what's the point of paying for something and you're not really doing your part to really help you? You taking the benefit away from the financial product when you don't do that. So I do encourage people to be proactive and not reactive because it's super expensive. And one other thing, just because I just thought about this, be careful with your deductibles with your home. Home deductibles can be a flat rate deductible, or they can be a percentage deductible. And a lot of times when people are getting policies, they're like, oh, I'll do the 10% because I'm trying to get my premium lower. But what people don't realize is it's 10% of your dwelling value for the replacement cost. So if your house is $300,000, you just gave yourself a $30,000 deductible. Your premium might be $500 a year, but if you worried about that little premium, I don't need for you to just pay the extra $200 a year because you're not going to be able to pay the deductible. But there are insurance professionals out here that will just listen to you and just give you what you want on price, because the likelihood of you having that claim that falls under that is slim. But if it does happen, you're going to be hot. So I never really encourage my customers. I actually don't even really write them unless they just absolutely push the issue. And even when we do the insurance reviews, I'll go back and say, are you still sure you want to do this? Because it's pretty catastrophic. I've had people have total losses due to fire and things. And so to have a $90,000 loss plus a $10,000 deductible, that's rough. That's rough if you're not paying attention. So I just challenge everybody, please read. I stand by my stuff, but I tell people, read for yourself. Don't trust me. Do not trust me. Like, read for yourself, because that's the only way you can really hold people accountable is knowing what you're entitled to. Right. It's very dangerous to go out here paying the money that you pay and investing in the things that you think are fully protected, and they're not. So please read for yourself. Trust no one. I love you, but trust no one. Do your own due diligence. Change the narrative. If you're tired of certain things happening, read, educate yourself. I promise you that's the difference.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out and blessing us with your presence and your knowledge. Remember that Gravity Counseling Group, we have a BIPOC monthly meeting, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks to everyone who's liked, shared, and supported our movement to try to increase mental health awareness within our community. Thank you to Winston. Mr. Winston is like what I like to call him, for his audio and visual productions. Thank you for taking the time to listen. You could be doing anything, but you chose to listen to us, and we appreciate that. Remember, we are therapists, but this ain't therapy. It's a podcast.